Now, may I request Revered Suviranandaji Maharaj, General Secretary, Ramakrishna Math and Mission, to deliver today's inaugural speech of this 3-day seminar. Revered Maharaj.
Namaste Yatirajaya Vivekananda Suraye Satchit Sukha Sarupayo Swamine Tapoharine. Well, Swami Suviranandaji, perhaps one of the most popular and dynamic secretary of this Ashrama, Ramakrishna Mission Ashrama, Narendrapur. Principal of our college here, Swami Ekachittananda. On the stage we have Swami Vasubhanandaji and Swami Deveshwaranandaji, both senior monks of our order. And then, of course, ever young, our very respected Dr. Prashanto Kumar Giri, who spent his whole life here in Narendrapur, the president of the management board here, our very revered and dear brother monks, very beloved brahmacharis, learned members of the faculties of Narendrapur campus and also coming from other institutes in and around Calcutta, the students and others who constitute this august assembly. This fine evening, I am suffering from a kind of sense of guilt. I beg to be apologized for having been so much delayed because of traffic disorder on the way, which is why I am sure you have been put in difficulty. I hope you will kindly excuse me for my delay, for my unwilling delay. And then I remember Swami Lokeshwaranandaji, as Swami Shastraganandaji was rightly mentioning. When we come to Narendrapur, Narendrapur is pervaded by Swami Lokeshwaranandaji. Narendrapur without Swami Lokeshwaranandaji is something like Hamlet without Prince of Denmark. Narendrapur is synonymous with Lokeshwaranandaji. I have had the privilege of being in his contact for several years. Maybe not exactly directly, but as an onlooker from outside. I personally have highest regard for this illustrious Swami. I pay my tribute, very rich tribute, to the hallowed memory of Swami Lokeshwaranandaji Maharaj. Whenever I have thought about him, it appeared to me that this personality is something like bright as a lighthouse, as they call it, and tall as a tower. I once again pay my respects at the holy feet of this great personality, Swami Lokeshwaranandaji. And then as you have been told by Swami Sastraganandaji, or for that matter by the announcer, that we are primarily here for two reasons. Number one reason is 125th of Ramakrishna mission. Ramakrishna mission's 125 is creating ripples not only in the Pacific but also in the Mediterranean Sea, in the Atlantic, in the Arabian Sea. And very recently I have had some experience on the basis of which I can share with you that maybe that a new ripple we have been seeing for the last few years in Huanghe, which is so infamous for drought and so on. But nowadays a new ripple, a new wave we can see even in Huanghe. They are sending books translated into Chinese, books of Vivekananda. And the Consul General of China was with me maybe 3-4 years back, just on the eve of the pandemic. And when he came here, we had long discussion, and then finally what he told was, we want Vivekananda in our country. And then Vivekananda pervading all over the world. We are at a juncture where we are celebrating 125. I remember 125 we celebrated from 1st May 2022 and technically ending on 1st May 2023. And one fine morning I received a letter from the Ministry of Culture, Govt of India, saying that the National Implementation Committee of the Government of India has approved the proposal for celebration of 125 years of Ramakrishna Mission. I was surprised. Ramakrishna Mission is a charitable organization. Ramakrishna Mission is a voluntary organization. Ramakrishna Mission is a spiritual organization. And how come Government of India's National Implementation Committee has approved the proposal? Who made the proposal? By no stretch of imagination, I could really think that we have any space to approach the Government of India on this count. This is entirely our efforts, our celebration of monastics and lay members belonging to this great order. Then I rang up the Prime Minister's office. I spoke to his personal staff, and then I came to know, they told that, well, you contact the Ministry of Culture, you contact the Department of Culture, Government of India. When I was in touch with them, they told that this proposal is not from Ramakrishna Mission. The proposal for observing 125 years of Ramakrishna Mission is a proposal which emanated from Prime Minister's office. Prime Minister, it is told, he said that 125 years of Ramakrishna Mission is a landmark in the history, modern history of human civilization. So it must be celebrated in style. They sent us offer. You tell us what logistics you want, what kind of funds you want, what you exactly want to do, and then we want to work shoulder to shoulder with you as far as this is concerned. And Prime Minister issued an instruction to the embassies also, embassies outside India, to celebrate this occasion. Why? It's a very big question. I think perhaps this is not the occasion where we can really delve into it. But one thing I want to say that, well, there is a research today in Oxford University. Many of you must have heard the name of Ruth Harris. She has become very famous. She has written a book And while she was writing the book, during the pandemic days, she had come to me with her husband. Her husband also is a historian. And then she told that, I want to have an access to the archives of Swami Vivekananda here. And then I asked her casually that, well, Harris, how many people in Oxford do know Vivekananda? Harris smiled and told, well, Swamiji, you better ask me how many people in Oxford do not know Vivekananda. And that's what Vivekananda is. And Harris' book has been published by Cambridge University sometime in April. Now it is available with Amazon publishers and I think with our Madras Mott and all that. A very big book. If you happen to go to Amazon publishers, or for that matter write our people at Chennai Mott, they will be able to provide you a very voluminous book. And do you know what is the title of that book? The title of the book is Vivekananda, the Guru of the World. Swami Vivekananda, the Guru of the world. Guru not of India, not of Bengal, but Guru of the world. And this book is authored by Harris Ruth, who is 100% English lady. Right now she is the head of the Department of Modern History in Oxford University. Another book I very often remember, that was of course published from Harvard University, a scientist couple, and that book also was amazing. The title of that book is The Gift Unopened. The Gift Unopened, written by Mrs. and Mr. Hilonia Starr. Both are scientist couple. They are scientist couple in Harvard University. You know, we had 100 years of Swamiji's appearance at Chicago in 1993. And that is the year they published this book. Now, what this book dealt about, what this book spoke about. In the introduction itself, the couple says that 100 years back, Christ sent us a gift. But we are so casual about it. Within last 100 years, we didn't bother to untie the red ribbon, untie the packet, and see what it was all about. It's better late than never. The red ribbon of the gift was untied, the packet was opened, and the gift was Vivekananda, Vivekananda, and Vivekananda all through. And those who have read this book, maybe our Shastraganandaji has gone through this book, and few of our brothers, and maybe few amongst you. It's a very famous book, again published by Amazon publishers. You can get it in Calcutta too. Now, that book starts with, if Columbus discovered the soil of America, Vivekananda discovered the soul of America. They write, this Leonia Stark and his wife, both of them together write, if Columbus discovered the soil of America, Vivekananda discovered the soul of America. So naturally, today, Vivekananda is a personality, an idea, an energy, a power, an attraction to the milieu of the entire world, not of a particular country. There are many things where we have enough reasons to be convinced that Vivekananda is taking the entire world for a ride today, and maybe the only positive force beyond this century in the future. And well, what message we have got? In course of 125 years, many people did make so many remarks, about positive remarks about this 125. I will to cite one or two. I will only mention one or two people of our country who remarked about this particular occasion to pay their tribute. and what did they exactly say? Our Rashtrapati said that Ramakrishna mission's 100 years, completion of 125 years of Ramakrishna mission is fulfillment of integrity, honesty and sanity. That's what Draupadi Murmu wrote to me in a message. Our Prime Minister, as I have already told you, Prime Minister, apart from anything else, he has told that it is a milestone. 125 years of Ramakrishna mission is a milestone in the journey, in its journey and in the history of human civilization. And our Chief Minister Mamata Banerjee, she told, Ramakrishna mission is excellence. The other name of excellence is Ramakrishna mission. So this is how people look at. Why? Why do they look at in this particular style is a question. Now, well, Swamiji himself has told it was a question of to be or not to be for Swamiji. Swamiji was guest of Mrs. Leon. Many of you must be knowing it. And one day Swamiji was telling his host that, well, madam, I have had the greatest temptation in my life. And then Mrs. Leon took it in a different way, and then she smiled and told, what is the name of that fortunate lady, Swamiji? Swamiji also smiled and told, no, it's not a question of a lady, it's a question of an organization. I have had the greatest temptation of life, and that is organization. And then Swamiji goes on to say that there is a dichotomy in him, to be or not to be. He says, if we spread the message, if we want to spread the message, organization is necessary. If we found the organization, message will be diminished. The spirit will diminish. Swamiji exactly says, to quote him, if we have an organization, the spirit will diminish. If we do not have an organization, the message will not spread. This was the dichotomy Swamiji was in, and the dichotomy was resolved when he went few days before 1897, 1st May, to Darjeeling. And I personally always I feel that Swamiji must have had some mystic realization. Maybe he had a mandate from Thakur and so on. Anyway, he came to Kolkata and floated this organization on 1st May. Now, before that, we find in Swamiji's life that Swamiji's life is a gospel which we call education today. For example, Swamiji was in Dakshineshwar, Sharat Maharaj was in Dakshineshwar, Girish Babu JC was in Dakshineshwar, and one day in the afternoon that basic tenets of Vaishnava literature was being discussed on, and then somebody told that the basic tenet, one of the basic tenets is Jive Daya, compassion to the Jivas. And Sri Ramakrishna, who was almost in a transcendence, came down and muttered, he said, what? Jive Daya, who are you to do compassion to somebody else? You say, Seva, service, puja, worship. Swamiji heard it. In the Kathopanishad we find that Ascharya Bhakta Kusalasya Labdha, Ascharya Gata Kusalanushishtaha. Wonderful is that teacher who speaks about it, and wonderful is the student who hears it and immediately realizes the purport of this. And Swamiji was such a wonderful disciple, and obviously Sri Ramakrishna was the wonderful speaker. Now, we do not know, at least history doesn't confirm whether GC understood it, Girish Babu understood it, whether even Sharat Maharaj understood it. But all the three came out, and then Swamiji, then Narendrapur, he embraced GC and told GC Today a new vista has opened up before me, and if God gives me an opportunity, I will certainly preach this message unto the mankind. And what was this message all about? Work is worship. God is not in temple. God is not in the church. God is in yourself. It is ignorant to call a man a man. Man is essentially God. Each soul is potentially divine. And to manifest this divinity is education. And that is what Swamiji said, that as panacea which cures you of any illness, education is the panacea. And then what do we find? Swamiji, before going to the west, goes to Almora. And some 8 kilometers before you reach Almora, there is a place called Kakrigat. And Kakrigat has a people tree, had a people tree, even now it has, it is there, but there has been some attempt to have some saplings, cuttings from this. Anyway, very, very fast decaying that tree is now. But anyway, that people tree, Swamiji as a young monk was thirsty, was hungry. Swamiji had a bath, and then he sat for meditation, and he entered into trance, and after getting down from trance, what did he say? He said, one of the most intricate problems of my life has been solved today. And what was the most intricate problem of his life? Most intricate problem of his life was this. He has had a lesson from his master, but he wanted to do it for himself. As Swami Brahmanandaji Maharaj was asked that, Maharaj, you are spiritual son of Sri Ramakrishna, and why did you go for penance and tapasya and all that so frequently for such a long time? Maharaj told, okay, Thakur has given me the power of attorney, that's true, but I want to make it myself, my own, by my own eligibility and attainment. So Swamiji says, one of the most intricate problems of my life has been solved. How? He told, I have realized today that whatever is there in macrocosm is there in microcosm. Whatever is there in microcosm is there in macrocosm. Jaha ache bhande, taha ache brahmande. And that is how Swamiji also dwells on his concept of education. Centuries have passed by. We had our own education. If you look 5,000 years back, you find that the education was man-making, life-building, character-building. Education was a voyage. Education was a voyage from manhood to godhood. When Jagopalko goes to his first wife and says that this is the property that I leave for you, and Panchasur de Banamrajat, I have to go to the forest. Then what did she say? She was not happy with it. She told, Kasminno bhagavo vigyate sarvavedam vigyatam bhavati iti. What shall I do, King Kurjam? What shall I do with all this? I want to know that aspect, by knowing which I can know everything of this universe. That is the knowledge I want to have. You look at the convocation those days. The disciple is going and staying with the Guru Kulavasa, just like some of our boys, by those who study in Narendrapur, they stay in our hostel. This is also Guru Kulavasa. And after the course is over, in the convocation, what did the preceptor say? Matri Devo Bhavo, Pitri Devo Bhavo, Acharya Devo Bhavo, Yani Anubhadyani Karmani, Tani Sevitubyani, no Itorani. You treat your parents as God and goddesses. They are the living gods and goddesses before you. Your acharyas, they are also living God to you. And you should not do anything by which people condemn you. You must perform such acts as are being appreciated by people and are beneficial to the people. This is what was the lesson that they had. But after a lapse of time, Swamiji is so shocked to see the state of education. You know, it seems like it will seem like a skit, but this is a factual reality. One of my friends has had this ugly experience, and he happened to tell me. He is from a state of the northern India, and there one of his friends, he runs a NGO, and that NGO includes running night schools and so on. So one day that gentleman was requested by his friend that, well, you come and visit my night schools. He went. And then, you know, maybe people used to know that some visitor will come today. They were at their best. Ma'am was teaching in the class. It was a primary school. And then, you know, the ma'am was telling that story, Aesop's fable story, that famous story. The tiger has come, leopard has come, and the boy is cracking, and then he is, crying aloud, tiger has come and you must come to save me. And all the people of the village used to go. First day. Second day they went, and they thought that this young boy is cracking jokes. And naturally, we don't have any reason to be very worried about his, crying aloud and asking for help. On the third day, really the tiger came, and nobody turned up. And the boy was eaten up by the leopard or the tiger, whatever you call it. So ma'am is asking the boys and the girls that, well, how many boys and girls, बच्चों आपने इससे क्या सीख लिया? कुछ सीखा? Many children, they did lift their hands. And then somebody in the first row, and ma'am asked him, well, my child, what you have learned from this? आपने क्या सीख लिया बोलो? Well, ma'am, हमने यही सीख लिया जो हमेशा झूठ बोलना पड़ेगा, झूठ बोलना चाहिए. जितना दिन आप झूठ बोलोगे, इतना दिन आदमी आपको मदद करने के लिए आएंगे. जिस दिन से सच बोलना शुरू करोगे, आदमी आना बंद हो जाएगी. So this is the state of affairs as far as education is concerned. And Swamiji spoke exactly the same thing in a different language. Swamiji says that education has come to naught. So much so that today a child, when he goes to the school, the first lesson he learns is his father is a fool. Second lesson he learns is his grandfather was a lunatic. Third lesson he learns is all his teachers are hypocrites. And the last lesson he learns is all the scriptures are but bundle of lies. So this is what Swamiji foresaw even 100 years, more than 100 years now. And Swamiji saw that this is the kind of negative flavor, the negative odor that we smell when we go into the precinct of an educational institution today. Swamiji, that's why says that education is realization. Education is being and becoming. Education is not information or collection of information. Swamiji is very, very candid and categorical when he says that, look, it is not an amount of information inside you that runs riot undigested all through your life. Education is practice. I will like to share a story with you. story means an anecdote from Mahatma Gandhi. You all must have read that book, My Experiments with Truth. If you have not read, you must have heard about that book, a very famous book, autobiography of Mahatma Gandhi, My Experiments with Truth. So what happens, one mother, she has a son, and that boy eats lot of sugar. It's lot of sugar. And then the mother is so worried. Mother thinks that because this boy is taking lot of sugar, he may develop very bad diseases. So mother is so much worried, and mother knows that this boy is so loyal to Mahatma Gandhi. If Bapuji tells something, then this little boy will certainly hear it. And then she took her son to Bapuji one day, and then she went to Sabarmati Ashram and then told Bapuji, and then she narrated her tales of woes as far as her son is concerned. And then Bapuji looked at her, Bapuji looked at the boy and told, Beti, tum 15 roj baad mein aana. So this lady was surprised because she knew that Bapuji is one person who is second to none to this boy. This boy had very high regards, unconditional regards for this Bapuji. Which is why she was sure that if Bapuji would say, you should not take sugar, she would have stopped taking sugar. But Bapuji, instead of telling him anything, told, you come after 15 days, okay. After 15 days, that lady again took the boy and went to Bapuji. And then Bapuji told, देखो बेटा, ज़्यादा शक्कर खाना ठीक नहीं है. अगर ज़्यादा शक्कर खाओगे तो तुम्हारा बीमार हो सकता है, कठिन बीमारी हो सकता है. इसलिए शक्कर ज़्यादा नहीं खाना, शक्कर खाना छोड़ दो. So immediately the boy says, जी Bapuji. Bapuji, I abide by what you say. Well, the lady was very happy, and when the lady is about to take leave of Bapuji, lady turned up and then spoke to Bapuji. The Bapuji, I am extremely happy. I knew that if you say, my son would immediately agree. But then, you could have told this simple thing even 15 days back when I came to you. Why did you again ask me to come after 15 days? Then Bapuji told, देखो बेटी, 15 रोज पहले तुम जब आई थी, उसी वक्त मैं ज़्यादा शक्कर खाता था. तो 15 रोज में मैंने ये आदत छोड़ा. आदत छोड़ने से मुझको अथॉरिटी हुआ, मोरल अथॉरिटी, नैतिक अधिकार तुम्हारा बेटा को उपदेश देने का. This नैतिक अधिकार to profess requires practice. Professing must be preceded by practice, and that is the core of education, more so core of educational thought of Swamiji. And then again, if we look at the educational philosophers during couple of centuries now, let us start with Whitehead. Whitehead is a very famous name in the field of education today, educational science, today's educational science. And then what does Whitehead say? Very shameful, should I say, if I am permitted to say so. He says that education is that art by acquiring which you know the skill of earning your livelihood. Education is the acquisition of that art by which you happen to know the skill, the technique of earning your livelihood. So this is education, even 200 years back in the world, Western world. And when Western world used to think something, we were there to silently pick it up. And then other philosophers also couldn't really give a working definition to education. Education, what does it mean? The child asks the mother, "Mother, how does the sugar taste about?" The mother says, "Well, it's sweet." How sweet? How sweet you have to take it yourself. You have to take it yourself. The small child, he goes to bed, and while retiring, he says, the baby says his mother, "Ma, when I will have nature's call, kindly call me up." Mother says, "I need not call you up. You yourself will understand it." And this is what is education. You feel it, you do it, you live in it, and you are this. This is education, which is why Swamiji says it is realization, it is being and becoming. And which is why, as I was telling you, that in the world during last 5,000 years of our civilization and the academic and the educational history, no philosopher was there like Vivekananda who would say that education is the manifestation of perfection. Perfection is there. We are going, some people are going, you are going by the street, and then you find a rope, lying on the street, and you mistake it for a serpent. And then maybe a lot of people have assembled there because everybody is scared of going ahead. And then somebody enlightened, he is a very intelligent man, he has a torch in his pocket. He says, "Well, how come you all are huddling here? Why?" No, there is a venomous snake ahead, can't you see? Don't speak aloud. And if the snake bites you, you will be killed. And this man brings out his torch from the pocket and lights it and shows that this is not a serpent. This is what you call a rope. And this is called in Vedanta Adhasa. And this Adhasa, Vedanta, is there in every point of our life. We mistake what a mirage for a water for a mirage. And that is what it is. It's a statement of fact. Swamiji says, Maya is a statement of fact. And education is also a statement of fact. Because there is nothing else except education in the world. This is why Swamiji has spoken about two aspects. These two aspects have never been attained yet, never been touched by any educational philosopher during last 5,000 years of our civilization. Which are those two aspects? One aspect is growth, another aspect is development. Education has these two important aspects, as you have two hands to do, to perform. You have two legs to walk on. So the aspects are integral part of education. These are the two words which constitute education proper. What are the two aspects? As I have told you, growth and development. What is growth? For example, a child is born, a child becomes a teenager becomes a young man becomes a middle-aged young man, then he becomes old, and one day he dies, and that is growth. But somebody, he is also born, he goes to the gymnasium, develops his biceps, and practice bodybuilding, and this is development. You keep a small plant here, keep the doors and windows all closed. It may not be that the plant will die so soon, but plant will have a retarded growth. If you keep the doors open, let the sunshine come, you should nurture it with necessary ingredients like water, manure, and so on. This is development. And these two words are the basic two words of Swamiji's concept of education. If we miss these two words, we miss the entire concept, entire vision of Vivekananda as far as development is concerned. And Swamiji's concept of education is so frequently being adopted by our educational scientists all over the world. I remember whom all of you know, Nelson Mandela. Mandela by himself was a unique and outstanding person. Mandela, who also became president, the first black president of South Africa, he once said a very interesting thing. What did he say? Destroying any nation doesn't require the use of atom bombs, Mandela said. Destroying any nation doesn't require the use of atom bombs or long-range missiles. It only requires lowering the quality of education. It doesn't require a long-range missile or atom bomb. What it requires is lowering the quality of education and allowing cheating in the examination. If you can do those two things, Bengal will be completely gone. Okay? So this is what Mandela says, and I think Mandela is not far from truth. Then he says, then what will happen? Result. What is the result then? If you can do these two things, result is patient dies at the hand of doctors, building collapses at the hands of engineers, money is lost at the hands of economists and accountants, justice is lost at the hand of judges. The collapse of education is the collapse of the nation. Education today, in today's scenario, education has become victim of education. Education proper has become victim of education that we have today. So education itself is prisoner of education, victim of education. Now, as far as our democracy is concerned, education must be based on reality, the ground realities. As far as democracy is concerned, democracy is degenerating into mobocracy. Democracy is turning very fast towards forming arsenal to be used by a handful of people. The entire other people, the vast spectrum, will be a mere witness to this vast destruction. That is the mobocracy, the aberration of what you call democracy. And this is always preceded by male education. This is always preceded by male education. And then, this 125 of Ramakrishna mission. How do we look at with this background of education propagated by Swami Vivekananda? When this NEP 2020 was framed, our friend Kasturi Rangarajan was advised by the PMO to personally meet me and talk to me. And then I had a very long discussion with him. And I was repeatedly pleading to him that unless and until we infuse the spirit and the philosophy of Vivekananda in our education, it will be simply howling without any flavor of the soul. And when I look at 2020 document, I am happy that although maybe Kasturi didn't or couldn't accommodate me totally, but then there are echoes of Vivekananda's concept of education in this document. Now what happened, you see this 125, how do you look about it in the context of education today? In the context of education today, education has been arrested. Education has been languishing in jail. Nothing can be said more sad a commentary on the affairs of a country of the world than this. And which is why we must look at 125 years of Ramakrishna mission with this backdrop, the concept of education as visualized by the great Swami Vivekananda. I was always feel that 125 বছর এটি হচ্ছে নতুন আলোকের 125 বছর, 125 বছর প্রজ্ঞার 125 বছর, 125 বছর জ্ঞানের 125 বছর, 125 বছর সমন্বয়ের 125 বছর। এটি হচ্ছে প্রেম, নিঃস্বার্থ প্রেম, সেই নিঃস্বার্থ প্রেমের ভালোবাসার 125 বছর, সেবার 125 বছর, মানবরূপী ভগবানকে পূজা করার 125 বছর। এটি হচ্ছে সমস্ত ভারতবাসী, কেন সমস্ত পৃথিবীর সমস্ত লোক, তারা সবাই আমার ভাই, আমার রক্ত। এই যে ভাব, ফ্রেটার্নিটি, সৌভ্রাতৃত্ব অল ওভার দ্য ওয়ার্ল্ড, তার 125 বছর। এটা হচ্ছে বিজ্ঞানের 125 বছর, এটি জ্ঞানের 125 বছর, এটি বেদান্তের, প্র্যাকটিক্যাল বেদান্ত, প্রায়োগিক বেদান্তের একটি 125 বছর। এটা শান্তির 125 বছর। তো এই যে 125 বছর, এটি হচ্ছে বিবেকানন্দের 125 বছর। কি করে হলো আপনারা চিন্তা করুন তো, আমাদের ভারতবর্ষের কথাই ভাবুন। আপনারা আশা করি এখানে যারা রয়েছেন অনেকেই 60-এর দশকে, 70 দশকে জন্ম হয়েছে। 70 দশকে আমরা যখন বিশ্ববিদ্যালয়ে পড়তাম, তখন আমরা দেখতাম যে আমরা, আই হোপ এভরিবডি নোজ বেঙ্গলি, হ্যাঁ, তো তখন আমরা দেখতাম যে আমরা সবাই ওই PL 480 তার কনজিউমার, PL 480 which used to be dumped in the ocean, Atlantic or Pacific, and those things used to come to us for our consumption. এটা হচ্ছে 70-এর ইতিহাস। আজকে ভারতবর্ষ এমন একটা মানে দেশ, যে দেশ এতে সারপ্লাস ইন ফুড গ্রেনস, সারপ্লাস ইন মিল্ক প্রোডাকশন। এই যে দুটি যে বিপ্লব, দিস টু revolutions have been named as White Revolution and Green Revolution, and this is the revolution which took place in the late 70s. And who were the harbinger, father of these two revolutions? One was Korean, you all know him. Who was the father of White Revolution? And who was the father of Green Revolution? M.S. Swaminathan. Now this Korean and M.S. Swaminathan, both of them are boon to the nation, gift to the nation given by Swami Vivekananda. How? Apparently very absurd. Swami Vivekananda told Rockefeller came to Swami Vivekananda and told, my sleep has been murdered. You tell me, you bless me so that I can have sleep. And Vivekananda said, renounce that you have, everything that you have. Renounce, and renunciation will bring you sleep. Tagenayika amritattam manushuhu. Akash bhara surjo tara bishwa bhara pran. And এই বিশ্বভরা যে প্রাণ, তার মধ্যেই আমরা এক সবিস্ময়, এক সবাক বিস্ময়কে দেখতে পেলাম। নির্বাক বিস্ময়ে আমরা শুধু দেখিনি, মানব সভ্যতা দেখল, আর সেটি হচ্ছে স্বামী বিবেকানন্দ। স্বামী বিবেকানন্দ gave us White Revolution because রকফেলার ফাউন্ডেশনের টাকাতে স্বামীনাথন এবং কোরিয়ান দুজনে গবেষণা করেছিলেন। যদি স্বামী বিবেকানন্দ রকফেলার ফাউন্ডেশন ক্রিয়েট না করতেন, হয়তোবা they couldn't do what they really did. আজকে যে আমাদের industry, merchandise, commerce, and even in economy, statistics say that we are the fifth economic power in the world today. তা এটা কি হলো? Jamshedji Tata was told by Vivekananda that Vedanta must marry science, Western science, and Western science must marry Vedanta. Vedanta must be coupled with Western science. How do you explain it? How do you view it? How it can be possible? Swamiji, this particular advice, this particular comment of Swamiji, how do you view at it this? Swamiji wanted to say, to my humble mind, Swamiji wanted to say something which I think we will be able to understand if we look at this from this point of view. Say we have we imagine two scenarios simultaneously going on. One scenario is you look towards the busiest street of Washington DC, and then you see a boy, well clad, well educated, well fed, well cultured. He goes, and then while going he finds a dazzling box lying uncared for beside the street. The boy is so optimistic, so happy, so hopeful that the box is so glaring, box is so dazzling, how much more valuables will be there inside. With lot of hopes, he goes and opens the box, and alas, to his utter dismay, he finds there is absolutely nothing inside the box. And what Swamiji wanted to say is, simultaneously look towards the Orient. If you stretch your imagination to the Orient simultaneously, you imagine the scenario of a village in India, a boy, half nude, maybe totally naked, unfed, undernourished, illiterate, going by the ridges of a field in rural India, a village in India. And while going, he finds something glittering lying uncared for amidst the dust. The boy goes and picks it up. He finds this is a pearl. Swamiji wanted to mean when he said that Western Vedanta must be coupled with Western science must be coupled with Eastern Vedanta. Swamiji wanted to convey this message to us, that East must go few feet forward, West must come few feet forward and shake hands with each other. The West has a box but doesn't have a pearl which can be preserved inside the box. The East has a pearl but doesn't have a box for this pearl to be preserved in. So let the East come forward, let the West go forward, let the scientists go on their researches and work out miracles. But at the same time, there must be milk of human kindness, as William Shakespeare has put it. Milk of human kindness. You must be human. Science is for man. Science is for the earth. Science is for the milieu. So naturally, the superstitious religion must go. Religion, the Vedanta, must speak in the language of science. Swamiji says, throw the religious theories into the laboratory of science, get it tested and accepted. And that's why he wanted Vedanta to be imbued with the scientific temper. Will you permit me to tell an anecdote regarding this? Very small anecdote though. You must have heard the name of our center at Belgorgia, Calcutta Students' Home. Many of you must be knowing this. Calcutta Students' Home have produced a lot of bright boys serving in different arenas in the world. Now the founder was Suryan Babu. who was later on named as Swami Nirvedananda. So Suren used to stand first in physics in Presidency College, with Meghnad Saha standing second. And when Suren, joined this monastic order, Meghnad Saha was very much close with him. And he was very shocked as well. So one day Meghnad has come one morning to Suren. And then he told that, Suren, you are one of the topmost brilliant people that our country has. You are a scientist. And how come you have come to a field which makes an order most unscientific? How come you did it? How come you, did it? Then Meghnad told, Suren told, Meghnad, can you see that some people are there? Yes. Who are they? They are the farmers. What they are doing? Now they are cultivating fields. Oh, do you believe in this, that this is a science? Meghnad told, yes, I do. Why? Because this is verifiable in laboratory. That's why I believe that this is science. I accept it. And Suren said, there is an unknown laboratory here which hitherto is not known to you, but if you try to cultivate, if you try to unlock that laboratory, you can also do that. This is also a super science. That's why Vivekananda says, scientific temper. And the scientific temper is another core value and core aspect of Vivekananda's education. Now, a lot of water has flown down the Ganges and Jamuna. Commissions after commissions have come into being, practically doing absolutely nothing. And then we find that Swamiji's scheme of education was dedicated to create a band of men and women who would combine in their lives the spiritual idealism of the East and the material practicality of the West. This is what Swamiji wanted. Material practicality of the West and spiritual idealism of the East. Swamiji says, can you become an Occidental of Occidentals in your spirit of equality, freedom, work, energy, and at the same time a Hindu to the very backbone in religious freedom, work, and energy, and at the same time a Hindu to the very backbone in religious freedom, in religious culture and instinct. Swamiji says, in the background of that age, this particular connotation he uses, but Swamiji also says that if somebody follows my dictum of practical Vedanta, a Hindu will be a better Hindu, a Muslim will be a better Muslim, a Christian will be a better Christian, so on. Anyway, what Swamiji wants, that we must have practicality, we must have scientific temper, and the religion, every word of it must be backed by the science, scientific temper, argumentation, and so on. So now, whatever we have to do, there is a book very recently published by Govt of India, and there, in the foreword, our Prime Minister writes that, if India has to rise, you must go forward in Vivekananda way. Now, how do we do it? We have already crossed almost we have already crossed 2 decades. We are in the very onset of 3rd decade. How do we really do? Few tips I would like to give to you, because within this short time everything cannot be said, but few tips I would like to share with you. Like holistic learning. Learning should be holistic. If the learning is not holistic, then the ills, the malady cannot be addressed, because that will be a lopsided growth then. And lopsided growth cannot educate you in the proper sense, in the real sense of the term. So holistic learning, shifting from a focus on rote memorization to holistic learning that fosters creativity, critical thinking and problem solving skills. Swamiji says that you need not memorize the encyclopedia. Swamiji says you need not memorize the entire library. What you are required to do is only the world is strewn with ideas, pick up a few, make it your life and blood, and you die for this, you live for this. There are certain beliefs. Lot of people from Bangladesh, erstwhile East Pakistan, have come to West Bengal. Why? Many of them were very well off. Many of them even were landlords. Many of them were very well established in their social life. But due to a very unfortunate incident, the people left their hearth and home with tears in eyes and came to West Bengal and struggled for their survival. The people who are so well off in East Bengal, many of them have been described to have moved here and there with a begging bowl in hand. Why? Why did they live? They lived because they had conviction. They used to believe in certain values. And they were ready to live, they were ready to live the life, they were ready to die for this conviction. For example, I am a monk, I am a Hindu monk. If somebody forces me to take beef, I will leave that place immediately. I will not do that. This is my conviction. This is my habit. This is my sanskara, which is why I live, I die. And this is education, the very, very core aspect of education. That's why Swamiji says, pick up a few, live that, make it your life and blood, and you live for thee, you die for thee. That kind of conviction should be there. Then technology integration nowadays is necessary. Leveraging technology for personalized learning, digital resources and online courses to bridge educational gaps, especially in rural areas. Vocational education, encouraging vocational and skill-based training to equip students with practical skills, making them job ready. Inclusive education, ensuring inclusivity for marginalized communities and addressing gender disparities in education. That is another area, gender disparities. Swamiji has said that Sri Ramakrishna came amongst the other purposes, two very important objectives. One is elevation of the masses, uplift of the masses. And another is uplift of women. Just like bird has two wings, if one wing is weak, bird cannot fly well. The society has two wings. And these two wings are men and women. And if both the wings are not empowered equally, then the society also cannot have a very good, very healthy takeoff. That's why this is gender disparity is something which is a bane for our society, for our growth, for our development, for our education, for our worship, for our priesthood, for our teachers, for our students, everyone. And that we must do away with. Quality assurance, implementing stringent quality standards for both public and private educational institutions to maintain a high level of advancements. And then teacher training is a very important area which you should look into. If our teachers are not well trained, well educated, then how can we expect children to do well? And the Education 2030 framework for action, which was adopted by 184 UNESCO member states, including India, seeks to ensure inclusive and equitable quality education and promote lifelong learning opportunities for all by 2030. Then when we go over to 2030, which means to the next decade, well, what are the possible problems that we face and we have to address? In 1994, UNESCO formed the International Commission on Education. Its chairman was Jacques Delors of France. And that is why the report of this commission is familiar as Delors Commission's report. Delors Commission report. That report bears a wonderful title, Learning the Treasure Within. That is what is Swamiji says as perfection, manifestation of perfection. That is, there is gold in our heart and the effort to excavate that gold, and that is education. Again, tension. This has to be resolved. This is a very, very important issue that we are going to face and deal with, are supposed to deal with in the next decade. And that is to resolve the tensions. What kind of tensions we visualize in the next decade? Firstly, tension between the global and the local. This is a very popular slogan in India today, that you must think globally and act locally. So how is it possible? How do you really resolve this dichotomy? That is one thing we have to think about. And secondly, tension between the universal and the individual. How can the globalization of relations enrich the unique character of each individual? Globalization is a collective matter. Globalization is a universal matter. Globalization is something which is massive. And at the same time, how globalization can benefit the life of an individual, how an individual also contribute to the global. This tension, this dichotomy, that also is a very important point to be addressed. And then thirdly, tension between tradition and modernity. We have to be Eastern, we have to be Western together, and that tradition and modernity, this has to be combined together. Ancient culture and the modern science, this has to be clubbed together. And that is the challenge that we are going to address, or we have to address in the next decade, especially in view of the progress in the field of science and technology today. And then tension between long-term and short-term considerations. That is, how can we create policies that require persistent strategies in a world sustained by momentariness. And then the immediate need maybe to construct a building, but with the immediate need, it must be seen that there are many valuable trees there. They have to be cut down. Even if the immediate needs are met, we will suffer in the long run. This is a crisis that education has to deal with. Just to fulfill short-term, to get short-term benefit or to fulfill short-term needs, we compromise with long-term needs, which ultimately do more harm to us, and that is one thing which one must look at. And lastly, tension between the spiritual and the secular. How can we encourage each and everyone in accordance with their traditions and convictions to fully respect spiritual pluralism, to lift our minds and spirit to the plane of transcendental? How in the stage of extreme competitions we can realize that unselfishness is God? And that's why, before I wrap up, I would certainly like to share with you a contribution of Ramakrishna mission in the field of education during 125 years. I have had long time already from you, so I don't venture or wish to make an adventure of taking more time from you. In very brief I would like to give you an idea about the education that our order has disseminated, not only in India, it is all over the world today. But as far as this evening is concerned, I think the subject is education, Ramakrishna Mission's role in the field of education in India, which is why I would like to restrict myself to India. To be very brief, I would say that this ranges from KG to PG to university are educational instruments, the vehicle of spreading and disseminating education of Ramakrishna Mission. These units, these instruments, these vehicles range from KG to PG. And right on date, we have well, about 1,000 educational institutions all over the country, and we have spent during the fiscal 22-23 rupees 605 crores, little more than 605 crores. So ours is a voluntary organization, ours is a charitable organization, our monks serve the people with practical demonstration of how to live, how to love, how to move ahead, and what to do to your parents, to yourself, to your family, and to the society and the nation at large. And that is what, where you must have seen in the newspaper, which has published this news about the Shanti Swarup Bhatnagar awardees. And among the 10 or 12 awardees, I think 4 awardees are alumni of Ramakrishna Mission. They speak amply of the education, otherwise of Ramakrishna Mission being disseminated, but the real objective of Ramakrishna Mission, the real objective of Ramakrishna Mission is to create a spirit of inquiry, a thirst for knowledge, a love for the community, and over and above all, a query for God. These are the few tenets that Ramakrishna Mission, cultivates and tries to give to the boys and girls who are under our canopy. With these few words, I must thank profusely my brother Swami Suviranandaji Maharaj for giving me this wonderful opportunity to be here this lovely evening and speak a few words with you. And I would profusely thank and owe my gratitude to all of you, because you have so silently, with so much of courtesy, put up with me for such a long time, without a note of protest. Thank you so very much.